Shalom, shalom. I'm back at it again with another video presentation. This time it's also, matter of fact, it's a continuation on how looks can be really deceiving. So right now, I'm going to read to you the why DNA results of Martin Luther King and Marcus Garvey, as I mentioned previously in part one, because as usual, people are under the impression, even me at one point, I was also under the impression that Marcus Mosiah Garvey and Martin Luther King were or are people, that we were all the same. Because at the end of the day, it all goes back to your Y DNA, your paternal DNA lineage, okay? Your paternal DNA lineage, or the seed of your father, your paternal ancestry, is what determines your nationality. And you can find out all throughout the scriptures and all throughout the text. Your nationality is determined by the seed of your father. Whatever your father is what you are. And DNA can further validate and substantiate that easily. Okay, just because a person may have Negroid phenotype, he could be dark skinned, blacker than a trillion midnight. He could look like Wesley Snipes. He could be real dark skinned with a woolly textured hair, with a big nose and big lips. That doesn't mean that they are people, until you really take that DNA test. So I'm going to go ahead and read this article. And it says DNA used to reveal MLK and Garvey's what European lineage. And let's see if it's on the paternal or the maternal side of their families. And it says using the power of DNA. AfricanAncestry.com has traced the lineage of civil rights icons Marcus Garvey and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. back to their native African tribes. It turns out that King and Garvey share a unique bond. Their paternal ancestry trace back to Europe. So there you have it. Martin Luther King and Marcus Garvey, they're not Israelites, number one. Number two, they're not our people. They're two Europeans. They're two Europeans. They do look black. They do have Negro features, but they're not us. The test was conducted using DNA samples from each of man's sons, Martin Luther King III and Dr. Julius Garvey's respectively. For the King family, the results complement the paper trail research they've done on Dr. King's paternal side that traces to Ireland. His paternal lineage of Martin Luther King can be traced all the way back to Ireland, to the Irish. Martin Luther King III's test also revealed that his mother's lineage, the late Coretta Scott King, who it was determined shares ancestry with the many people of Sierra Leone, which at the end of the day, the maternal line lineage is totally irrelevant. It all goes by the seed of the father. Dr. Garvey's paternal lineage traced back to where? Portugal and Spain and Europe. And his maternal lineage traced back to present-day Guinea-Bissau, Sierra Leone, and Senegal. So as you can see, Martin Luther King's paternal lineage goes back to Ireland, and Garvey's paternal lineage goes back to Spain and Portugal. It is actually not uncommon for paternal lineages of African Americans to trace to Europe. Due to what? The number of white male slave owners fathering children with enslaved African women, said Dr. Kittles, co-founder and scientific director for African Ancestry. And this is what I've been saying since part one of this video, okay? You had a white male slave owner who had sex, who might have raped or had sex with one of the black women who were also a slave. And later on down the line, they started having an mixture with more black women to produce what? Marcus Mosiah Garvey and Martin Luther King, which is the reason why they look the way that they look. And guess what? About 30% of black people, not just here in the United States, but also Central and South America and the Caribbean Isles, who do look black, who have Negroid features, are actually Europeans and white, and they're not our people. Being able to give that information to the descendants of kings and Garveys is a milestone for organization. Nicole Taylor, the website spokesman, told the Griot that what DNA is able to do is take us back to the actual grounds of where we came from. Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. You see, we don't have to just say that we are from Africa anymore. We can say I'm from Sierra Leone or I'm from Cameroon. Taylor says that African history has tested some of the largest icons in the United States, especially African Americans. Until now, they have focused mainly on those who are already living. Who better than someone like Dr. Luther King or Coretta Scott King said, African ancestry has paved the way for DNA-based ancestry, tracing for African Americans, revealing the roots of prominent black people like singer India Arie, Judge Glenda Hatchett, film director Spike Lee, and actor Blair Underwood. One test can reveal the lineage of an entire family, say Gina Page, co-founder and president of African Ancestry. As an African American, I'm personally proud and passionate about the families we've been able to help since our inception several years ago. It is the highest professional honor that we contributed to history by tracing the ancestry of these iconic families. Taylor called this a breakthrough in science. African Americans have much more of a challenge in tracing lineage than any other group, she says, because of the way blacks came to the Americas. Taylor says people no longer have to stop their lineage at the slave trade. Prior to 2003, we were not able to tell where we came from as black people in the America further than the slave ships. Now you have this tool, this resource that literally bypasses anything that you can find in a library for any other missteps to incomplete information. You have your body, exactly what you are constructed of, to lead you back to the continent, Taylor added. But she said that prior to 2003, we were not able to tell where we are from as black people. That's a lie, because for the longest, going back to the late 1800s, we did have people out there telling us that the Negroes throughout North, Central, South America are in fact the children of Israel, or the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. But with the DNA analysis coming into effect, now you can go ahead and reckon your genealogy. So you want to make sure on whether or not you carry the E marker or the E1B1A marker. Because like I said, I took my DNA test with 23andMe.com, which 23andMe.com have a bigger data than African ancestry, and my paternal Y DNA is E1B1A, which is that of ancient Israel. But the point I'm trying to make is this. This is the reason why I've said it once, and I'm going to continue to say it again, why a lot of these Israelite groups, camps, congregations, no matter what school of thought you come from, do not want to associate themselves or take a DNA test, because a lot of them are going to find out that they are not Israel, but they are of another nation. And they don't want to, and they definitely don't want to be a quote unquote Europeans, because they're the ones who are going to catch the most. The white man is going to catch it the most under the auspices and rulership and of slavery and captivity. They all going to serve captivity and slavery, so they're going to catch it the worst when the government of Yahweh, the Creator, is established right here on earth. So that's why a lot of these groups out there, or individualites, whatever they want to call themselves in this way of life, called the Israelites or Israel, they don't want to take that test. They don't want to reckon their genealogies, because they're afraid that they might be a white person. Just look what happened to the gorilla Hebrew of Sakari when he took his DNA. He had the R haplogroup on his paternal side of the family, which is a European Y DNA haplogroup. He has the same haplogroup, Y DNA haplogroup, as most white people that you see in front of you, including the majority of the U.S. presidents. You see that? So I'm going to end this video presentation, and with that, I'll see you on the next one, and I'm going to say shalom.